Hello and welcome. Tuesday noon conversations between Marianne and me about the Earth. So we had a really interesting conversation yesterday and decided on today's subject. So I let Marianne take off with it.
Thank you, Karina, for having me again here with you. And I love it to have those conversations. And indeed, we did had a quite interesting conversation, as we always have, isn't it? They're always interesting.
Yeah, there are.
But it was interesting because of the energy of the refined judgments, as we have also in regrets. The refined judgment that regret is. And interestingly, I said, yeah, but doesn't look like I often or I don't have that energy in my reality of regret. But then we went into the refined judgment, and then it starts to become interesting because, yeah, how many judgments are required to define something as a regret? And what is it truly regret? So I stepped in again into the energies of judgment. And even though the regret one isn't really up in my reality, but there are a lot of other judgments who are included in that regret. Or is it an end point of the conclusion? In a way, I was thinking as though judgment on judgment on judgment, and that is the final judgment of regret, as though that one I don't have, but all those others, as though from perfection, that's some energy. That wasn't a judgment that was really up in my reality. Everything to be perfect. I wanted to be perfect, not even knowing what that meant, because what is perfection?
That is a very good question. And isn't perfection also a form of refined judgment? It's not the
Absolutely.
sledgehammer kind, oh, you're good or you're bad, but you're perfect. There is judgment required in order to come to that statement.
Yeah, and you said it's not that sledgehammer, but in a way, I used it as a sledgehammer, as though it kept me always in, I'm not good enough, so I have to
Yeah,
learn more.
okay.
I have to do more of this, and that is in a way sledging as a hammer on my head again and again.
Yeah,
And although I hear you, it's not recognized as something
yeah,
bad. The opposite. Because isn't it often that it is required to be perfect, to whatever, to have some job or to be
yeah,
someone, or yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And the other thing too is we usually don't tend to look at the so-called positive judgments as
Mm,
judgments. It's only the negative, anything that is bad, that is wrong, that is judgment. But anything that is good and that is right, that is not a judgment. Yet
yeah,
the limitation it imposes on a person that is receiving that judgment, as well as the person who is doing that judgment, are quite intense because
yeah.
we are so much more likely to change anything negative, but we don't like to change anything positive.
And going with this positivity, or positive judgment, I was known and I am a positive person in the way it was also, going on and not letting down my head, etc., etc. But now I can acknowledge, because I allowed myself to go and look in those positive things, what the judgments truly are there. And it was surprisingly all those as named positive judgments were the biggest walls
Yeah.
to break down,
Yeah.
because of that idea that it is good.
Yeah.
When it is positive, it is good, so you can go on with that. But indirectly, in that positive behavior with those positive judgments, I wasn't allowing myself, and I couldn't even see and look at myself as what it truly
Yeah.
was, what I was choosing there, because it's a blinder.
Mm-hmm.
Positive judgments are often blinders. And in nature again, it's nature doesn't
Judge.
judge,
Yeah.
not even about, is it perfect, is it imperfect, is it good, is it bad? It is every way, in every way. And this morning in a conversation, Karina, it was about the river and being and in oneness, and what came up was, oh wow, the fish was showing me. And it was like the fish said, yeah, but the water doesn't judge. All the fish in the water can live, have the same amount of water to drink, the oxygen, the plants, or whatever. The water isn't saying, yeah, but you can't have this, or you can't have, but we do that all the time.
Yeah. How much? How
All
much
the time.
do we do it?
Yeah,
Without being aware of it even.
that's that. And I can say, while I was a positive person, that I blinded myself for so many things. And yeah, it kept me also out of the zone to go with what was really true. Even nothing was there in my world to desire the real truth, because it was so blinded by the positive judgment.
And how much do you have to judge yourself to stay positive, to stay perfect? I mean, it's a continuous process of judging. You cannot let your guard down.
Yeah, yeah.
You cannot relax.
And you can't be vulnerable also.
Nope. Because then you become not perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, it costs a lot of energy, and it's invasive also for the body.
That too. Yeah.
It's really invasive for the body. Can I acknowledge now? I wasn't aware of before, as though, in this reality, everything is about the good. Everything is
Mhm.
about the good.
Yeah.
The bad, the ugly, yeah, it exists, but you have to fight against that, or you have to change something about it. But everything that is in the space of the good,
You can keep,
you
even if
can
it
keep,
kills you.
yeah, even if you kill yourself. Wow. Wow, Karina, this is an energy now you bring up. It truly is positive judgment is slightly
Mhm.
and literally it was something I chose. because I was in a point of my life that I merely lived.
You were the only one who's been chosen.
Of course, because I am the most perfect person in the world.
I know, yes.
So I needed all those energies.
Yeah. And
Yeah, but it is.
how much are we killing ourselves with that? And how much are we limiting ourselves? Because once you get something perfect, you know you cannot repeat that.
Can you repeat this, what you said in this second?
That's something perfect. You cannot repeat it because it's perfect and you can never repeat perfection.
And is it that keeps us in looking time after time after time and not once being pleased about what is created because it's never perfect? Oh, once it is perfect, you can't repeat it. That's really interesting.
And that imposes a limitation on anything that you want to create afterwards.
Yeah.
Because why would you want to try to create that? Because it cannot be perfect anymore. You reach perfection with what you have done.
And also what this brings up is the energy of boring. It's so bored.
Yeah, perfection is boring. I get that.
Yeah. And at the same time, you say?
There is no fun in it.
No. But we choose the fun, which isn't fun at all, but we think that it is fun to go and look after the perfection and go on and go on and go on, which isn't generating anything.
Nope.
Or does it? Yeah, that's not the energy of generating.
No, it is.
It creates limitations. It creates, a lot of bullshit.
Yep.
But it isn't really generating
ever.
Yeah. Wow. So still, with that energy of regret, how does that matches or not matches with the energy of that perfection? Is it going on looking after and going after the perfection that every time when you are nearly there, you create another judgment as though the regret so you can start over again?
That is probably possible. From my experience, regret usually tends to come up at the end of life. Oh, I didn't do that. I didn't do this. I only focused on, and so that is more where we go into judgment of what we have created as our life. And the question that I have, what if what you are creating as your life is not wrong?
Yeah.
It's where you are at.
Yeah. But it's
yes,
also,
you can choose more if you desire to, but it's not wrong.
yeah. But do you know what catch me is what you are saying about at the end of your life. But what I noticed with a lot of people, it has to see with the end of something. It is the end of the job, the end of the relationship, or the end of, there is something ending. And then they go back and have a look, and then they have regrets, whatever. So yeah, it's from that aspect I said regret isn't in my world, which now when you mentioned at the end of your life, I can perceive now, oh, perhaps there is a lot more regret still in my reality that I didn't have acknowledged yet. Because I'm not choosing yet the end of my life. I'm still in creation. I'm still in generating even more than ever before. So,
does, though, regret have to be part of your life? Or is regret the result of living life on autopilot?
and perhaps not only on autopilot, but living your life as a sheep.
Which is to some extent autopilot.
Going
Doing what
after
everybody
whatever.
else is doing.
Yeah.
It's not creating your life.
Yeah, and it's regret also by not be willing present with your choices,
To be
which
present.
is also this autopilot. But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
And, you know, the earth, nature chooses what is choosable, what can be chosen, and there is no regret.
no.
Things are as they are.
And
But
in nature,
yeah,
never there is an end. Nature
yeah,
never ends. Yeah.
yeah. And there is no autopilot,
And there is no autopilot. Yeah, yeah, there isn't.
you know.
Even though that people wants to, as we look at the seasons, the autopilot of the seasons, it's the people on earth that love that autopilot. And when nature does something different, then there is a problem.
Yeah, there is a problem, yeah. And we have defined when the seasons start and when they end and all those things. And what if that is no longer the case?
Yeah.
What if that is changing? Are we willing to adapt? Like if I look at where I live, it seems like winter is starting later, which also means spring is starting later. Summer, right now, we're not supposed to be in summer yet because we didn't have summer equinox, summer solstice. But from my perspective, we are in summer just because the temperatures we are having, both during the day and during the night, are way more along the lines of summer than of spring.
Yeah. And you see it also in Europe that there is,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And can we allow for the flexibility? Can we be flexible to go with what is? Instead of, no, it hasn't been equinox, it hasn't been solstice yet, therefore, da 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 da.
And is it possible, Karina, that if we allow ourselves to go and be as nature, with nature, because we are from nature, it's nothing different, that judgment on itself melts by choosing to go along because it's not longer required.
Yeah. And nature doesn't judge. And that is part of the reason why we feel so comfortable in nature, not being surrounded by judgment, which is the case in the city.
Yeah.
How many people are there? They are not necessarily judging us, but they're judging something. And that energy of judgment is around.
And even, Karina, taking that part of the city, take those people into nature, the bodies relax, they relax, but still judging. Whatever way, if you listen when you, I did it yesterday when I had a walk in the park and I catched conversation and it was like, what the heck?
Yep.
Your body is so happy walking here in nature. And they weren't even for a second present, not with nature, not with their bodies, always in the head and judging about everything, even the way the leaves or the dry leaves that still are on the trees,
Yeah.
how they were falling, how it was, yeah, it wasn't
Yeah.
what they
If
liked.
that and the other is wrong. What if we ask what is right about this?
Yeah. Yeah. Good question.
You know,
And also, what is right about this in this case now? What is right about them still judging while being in nature? Choice.
it's just part of their maybe makeup,
Yeah.
who they are as a person.
Yeah.
And can we be an allowance of that? Because if
What
we
I
aren't, then we go into judgment.
yeah. Yeah. And that goes together also with what I observe and perceive more than ever, also because I was once on the other side. It is people really aren't receiving nature. They like to go out in nature because they notice that relaxation, but are they really aware that there is no judgment, that that is the true relaxation they go for?
And how far do they go out into nature? Because one does that.
Oh, yes. Yes.
One does the afternoon, Sunday afternoon stroll through the park. I mean, that's how I've grown up.
Yeah.
You know, Sunday afternoon, my grandfather would take us through for a stroll through the park.
Yeah.
And how much do we go camping? Yet we're not present with nature because we bring our TV, we bring our radio, we need to listen to a sports thing, we need to watch the sports, whatever it is, you know, but we're not present with nature, enjoying the stillness that is there.
And even
Silent.
when you allow yourself to be with the stillness in nature, it's quite noisy. It's not
It can be
still as
quite
in
noisy, yes.
silent. It's not silent. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's when, you know, when I have the choice to be either at the effect of it or be in my world
Yeah.
by tuning the noise out and tuning into the silence of nature.
And isn't it, Karina, that those who really like, and I'm gonna speak now for myself, because it's coming up to go and jumping back when I was younger, that silence of nature, that was for me also something I judged as perfect. As indirectly, I can notice now in this moment that was there a perfection that was my goal with myself to go after. It is possible, like that harmony For me, nature also was judged as the perfect harmony. Wow, as the perfect harmony. So, and the perfect harmony in that time would have been for me like the harmony between my thoughts, my feelings, my emotions,
Mhm.
not even knowing at that time that that are the lower harmonies of something way bigger, as there is awareness and there is knowing.
And the reality I've met so many people, and especially coming from Europe, it was unfathomable for me that one of the first actions people did when they got home is turn on the TV.
Oh, yes, yes.
That is absolutely common here. And there is a constant background noise, which drives me personally bonkers.
Yeah.
I like it quiet. And on some level, admire people who can listen, for instance, to classes, recordings, whatever, be it even music, while they're doing something else. I can do it, but it doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah. Yeah, but I like it. I'm a person also that likes silence. I'm not gonna turn on radio. I'm not gonna turn on TV. That's not an automatic pilot I have. I don't. As I see it by my partner, and also questioning, and he doesn't know why he does it, but he still does it.
Mhm.
And it's I can see it on Sunday because there is on Sunday before going out to the park, there is a siesta to go and take a nap, you know.
Mhm.
But he switched on the television to lay him down on the sofa to having his sleep. So it's only 2 3 minutes he's watching the television, and then the television is on and he's sleeping. What the heck? But yeah.
And I have a friend that the first thing they do when they come uh, out of the bedroom into the living room, they turn on the radio.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
the
I have a
radio
friend
goes
also.
all day long until they watch TV.
Yeah,
And they turn
yeah,
on
I
the
have a
radio.
friend that does the same thing.
And
Yeah.
it's just, again, I can tune it out, but it's not something that does work for me.
No, I recognize it. It is in a way invasive also for my body, because to start with, I hear it quite louder than
And
general
most
people.
people, yeah.
So when they turn up the volume, my body already, and I know I have the tools, I can expand, and I do that. And I can manage in a way that it doesn't affect me directly at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
But the moment I can step into the silence, I notice my body,
Relax.
still noticing my body like, whoa,
Yeah.
this wasn't that kind for my body. But even that, Karina, how many people does ask a question?
Yeah. And the thing is with modern technology, you have the loudspeaker on the patio.
Yeah.
So you don't
Yeah.
miss anything.
You don't miss anything. Even when you go out and you go to the restaurant, you don't have to miss, because here in Portugal, also in the restaurants, which last year wasn't that fun because they were closed, but all the restaurants have TV, and more than one.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they go out with a family to have their lunch in general, and they are watching television. They don't talk to each other. Even taking their lunch is more like, give me my lunch because it's
Okay.
lunchtime. And I have to
Autopilot.
eat really, really, really,
Yeah.
really. As even you can see it with when they don't choose what they want to eat. They order what is automatic, automatic to order. It is quite interesting to observe those things. And then often I am laughing inside myself and having fun with it.
And for our listeners, what about the invitation to just be observant and notice
Yeah.
and see where you are with what is going on? And is that working for you or is it not working for you? Experimenting with a different way of doing things. And that's the only way we can find out what actually works for us. Because if we
Isn't that also?
continue to do what we've always done, we cannot
Yeah.
make a change.
No, and I know you do it often also observing nature. And I can tell also for me that observing nature, it I learned a lot about myself also as
Mhm.
observing people, as not for judging them, not for having a judgment about it, but observing and questioning for yourself also, where am I?
Where am I with that? Yeah, would this work for me? Yes, no.
Yeah,
You know, I
yeah,
mean, I don't need to necessarily experience personally every possibility. I can watch people and see how does it work for them, and then look at would that work for me?
yeah,
That is going to asking questions.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And it was really interesting for me this morning. I woke up with the question, so what's the difference between being awake and being conscious? And I mean, being awake, not waking up from sleep, but as people say, oh, I am awake.
Yeah.
And they mean it as if they are conscious. But is that being conscious? And what I came to was the biggest difference is the lack of asking a question.
Yeah, but I didn't grow up with asking a question. The only questions I got was in school. And in school, then you needed to assert it, and then you got your numbers, and then you could go to the other. So asking a question, we aren't familiar with asking questions. We aren't familiar with that.
It's
And it is a huge change when you start to ask questions.
yeah.
It
And
is.
I'm asking questions and I'm realizing I could ask even more questions.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's definitely only you. You are the only one who can ask more questions, definitely. But coming back to to being awake and being conscious, as I experienced a lot of difference there, and I was for years awake. And I was for years awake due also going to formations and courses and whatever in the spiritual world. But now, when I came across with Access Consciousness and what they offered with the tools, and question is one of them, then I noticed I started to become conscious. And even now, saying this, become conscious, it's like there is already a knowing that it's not becoming conscious, we are conscious. It is what we are choosing to be. Are we willing to be that conscious as we truly are?
Yep.
And the more I choose again and again and again, because one of those other tools we have there, they offered, is choosing in 10 seconds increments. So also that is wow.
Yeah.
Those two things can change everything already.
And on the other hand, what I want to say is, for how many people is it, oh, now I'm conscious? And as if there is an end point to consciousness. And
No.
that is not the case.
No.
You can always be even more conscious.
Yeah.
Even more.
Absolutely.
Even more. And so, yes, on the one hand, it is true that we are by nature conscious, and we are not utilizing it. We're not willing to be it 100%.
No. Yeah. No.
We grow more and more conscious.
That we aren't willing to be really, and there is no end point, because we are infinite energy, and that consciousness is infinite. So there is no end point.
You mean
there is no end
infinity
point.
Doesn't have an end point?
Oh, excuse me. Oh, a bad girl now. But it is. But for me, it changed in the
No, I
acknowledging that we are already everything, and it helped me to acknowledging the insanity already chosen, and acknowledge the insanity still choosing. Because it's not, when you have more clarity about some aspect, that everything is, yeah, it is changing everything, but still, as you say, we still have to be willing to be it.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, we have to go with acknowledging the judgments, the refined judgments. What are we still choosing? And more, what don't we choose? What we don't choose. What we don't choose. What we don't choose.
And how much is this reality, because we are so used to it, so entrained to it, and an invitation to go unconscious.
And unconscious in a way of, then I can deal with it?
No, it's just
No.
Being quote unquote normal and fitting in requires me to be unconscious. I cannot be conscious and fit in.
Yeah, no.
Because there is such this reality, there is no questions that are being asked.
Yeah.
No, we decide on, oh, this is what the earth needs, this is what that person needs, this is what it means to be healthy, but is there ever a question in it? And without a question, we are operating from unconsciousness.
Yeah. As though, as it's also judged as easy, which isn't completely the opposite. And that is when you become conscious, and that is, become, as in choosing more consciousness, that becomes clear that the insanity of those opposites of thinking, judging, and what it really is. Well, it is something we can go on and on and on, Karina.
Absolutely. And maybe we'll revisit the subject at some point down the road, but I think we've had a big enough conversation for today.
Yes.
That it's time to let people absorb what we talked about and take it in and be with it and see where they plan on taking it.
Yeah. And if they are having questions, because we touched on the
No.
questions,
Yeah.
so
You
if
can
someone
ask
has
us.
a question,
You can ask us and we will respond.
we can offer a space where they can go with more questions.
And the response may be another question that helps you clarify it, which may not be an answer.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's play
Going
with
into
it.
the interesting place and space.
Yeah.
Thank you, Karina, for
Thank
this
you,
happy
Adrian.
conversation.
And thank you, everybody, for being here. And we'll see you next week, same time. Until
Bye-bye.
bye bye.